Hey, out there, Facebook world, it is Jim Johnson, your host here at Contractor Radio. And again, I believe every single time we bring on some of the best guests out there, and today's guest is going to be exceptional when it comes to marketing. And I want to talk to you a little bit about some tips that we might share with you. We share with our coaching clients to kind of get you up to speed on how you want to start thinking strategically about your marketing. And so you have a lot of things to consider. You have things to consider like, are we going to do this in-house, or are we going to get third party, or maybe we're going to do some kind of hybrid of those two things. So you got to kind of get that figured out first. And then you also want to figure out, well, what buckets do I want to put my marketing into? Am I going to put it all my eggs in one basket and maybe focus on things like canvassing? Or am I going to spread myself over a few different avenues and really think about how I might be able to generate leads in a variety of different ways? Some of those other avenues that you might consider, it would be, digital marketing. How would we go about doing that? Whenever I say digital, I think social media, websites, search engines, and some of the like Google ads and things like that. How do we use those tools to drive our lead generation? You also have your more traditional media, radio, TV, and there's so many other things out there today with your streaming services that allow you to really target some things. And so is that something that you might consider? You also might consider your word of mouth opportunities. So is that something that you're going to rely on for your business? One of the things we found with word of mouth marketing is you're really relying on your customer to do that. So you better have a really good strategy that's going to incentivize them, or you better have delivered in a way that is just so outstanding that they can't do anything but tell everybody about it. And then there's this other concept out there called guerrilla marketing, which the best way to think about that is unique, low-cost marketing that drives lead generation. And so you can do some pretty unique things. We're going to do a podcast just on guerrilla marketing and talking about that with some experts out there. But today, we're going to be talking with Tim Brown, the owner, founder, president, a mastermind behind the Hook Agency, who works with a lot of contractors in our space and has a lot of great results, track record. And in marketing in our space, as everybody knows out there, we get bombarded with folks out there that are trying to get our marketing dollars. Our marketing dollars are super important. Every single one of those has a return on investment on it, and we want to make sure that we spend them wisely. So really ask your people that are trying to get those marketing dollars. Some of the best things that you can do is get some references and talk to those references. Ask about those folks on Facebook groups. Everybody will be honest with you, tell you probably more than you want to know in some cases. So make sure that you do a lot of due diligence before you go giving money to somebody on whether they are truly an expert at generating leads or not. Our guy today, Tim Brown, is an expert on this. He actually works with several of our clients. We want to talk marketing strategy today. So welcome aboard, Tim. Welcome to the show. Good to have you.
Hey, well, thanks for having me. I'm super excited to talk about this stuff today.
Yeah, I've gotten a chance to talk with you several times. I was actually on your podcast, and we were talking a little bit about strategy and coaching and stuff like that. And I said, wow, that was so great. I want to get you on and talk a little bit about marketing and the strategic approach to that. And I got to come hang out at your office. You were kind enough to give us an opportunity to bring a bunch of contractors together there in your office and talk about some things. And I got to learn a little bit more about how you guys approach this and what you do. So give us a little background. How'd you get into this? How did the Hook Agency start? Sure. And why are you the end all and be all of digital marketing?
Hey, so I started as a web designer, made websites, coded websites, did all this stuff, WordPress, all that, like got really into it, went to school for web design and development. And I made a lot of pretty websites. In fact, I even made a website for Mall of America and made a lot of like kind of bigger companies around here, Tria, Orthopedic. I made some sites. I worked at another marketing agency. But for small businesses and growth-oriented businesses, contractors and stuff like that, I started to have people that I would make a website, let's say, as a freelancer, and they would say, "All right, now, why isn't it increasing our business?" And so even though we made very nice-looking websites, right, that they were beautiful. You can make the most beautiful website in the world, and it's still not necessarily going to create that much more business for you, because the only people coming to it are like people that see your sign and people that, somebody tells them about your company. So it's basically, it's a problem with the quantity of amount of people coming to your website. And that problem, I was able to solve it for web design, right? I ranked locally, Minneapolis web design, we're number one for that or whatever, right? So we were able to get a bunch of business that way. So people are like, how did you do that? So I had people, clients that we were helping, or I was, it's just me at the time, helping with websites. And they just said, how do you do that? Can you do that for us? So that was essentially the first couple clients that I got as a search engine optimization specialist, and have since just kind of I hired my wife, and we essentially were able to scale that out with writers and SEO specialists. We have developers on staff, designers on staff. So now it's a 15-person company, and we're doing that at scale for like around 28 to 30 clients at any one time. And essentially we have, one employee for every like 2 clients or something like that. And it's a lot of work. It's a lot of effort. It's a very slow game. Search engine optimization. And it's funny because all those scammers that you're talking about, these kind of low end lead generation guys that are out there and on all these roofing groups and droves, they say the same thing. So it kind of hurts to like, when small business owner hears that, they're like, yeah, it's a long game. And that's what the last guy told me. And it's not true. And it just never works. But a lot of times we inspect the work that a lot of these other marketing agencies are doing. And they do, let's see, like a big piece in search engine optimization is links. So you got to get links back to your website on a regular basis, somehow, some way, you got to do it basically. And we look at the links that these people have created, these other marketing agencies, and a lot of times they really do the bare minimum and then they make excuses. So they do they'll do a year of SEO and they do about as many links in that year that we do in our first month of SEO. So the quantity of effort needed is much higher than it used to be to rank, but you still can rank and make a lot of money from ranking high on Google and in the organic section, not in that chunk of paid ads that is getting bigger and bigger, that is annoying up at the top. We also do, we manage those ads for people, but the map and the organic list is kind of the main places that we focus on. Content and links are the biggest ways to get higher on those sections. And it is a lot of work and it's tiring and slow. And it's funny, we do teach people a little bit. We were kind of talking about this before the conversation, but we do try to teach people this. So, and we give away every last thing that we learn. And that's kind of our approach to business. I'll try to give away all of it on this conversation, everything I possibly can. But so many people, they struggle with finding the time to do those things. And of course, it's very, it's difficult to find the time. Like, when are you going to do this on 4 hours on a Saturday? It is good. You should. But it does take time and it is a lot of work. So a lot of people like to have us do it, even though we try to tell them exactly how they could do it themselves as well.
I can absolutely relate to that. For the first 6 years of us being in business, I pretty much handled all the marketing and everything for the company. And it's beyond my capabilities at this point.
Yeah.
It's now one of those things that, I do know it, but I'm only touching it every so often. Yeah. Where when somebody's doing it every day, they can stay up to date on what's happening with search engine optimization, Facebook ads, and all this stuff that goes on out there with marketing. So a good background there. Building websites and figured out how to market your own company, and through that, you figured out how to market these other companies because they were desperate for. Dave, one of the guys watching the deal, goes, "Hey, great websites without any kind of linking back and SEO and that type of stuff is like having a great billboard in the forest."
Exactly. Yeah.
That doesn't do you any good. So I talked about these buckets, right? These buckets and where people put their marketing dollars, whether that be canvassing or digital media, traditional, and you guys really are focused on that digital media. Why that particular area? Why is that the one that you really honed in on?
Yeah, I think for me, I think the roots just go back to the spot where I was basically. It basically was my problem at that time, which is I have no money. I have no money whatsoever, but what can I do with my time? And there is a lot that you can do with your time in the area of SEO. Like SEO is something, as long as you have a website and you know questions that ideal customers are asking. So let's say you made, you started your business and you have some business. Let's say you're a $200,000 a year contractor or something, and people are asking you questions on a regular basis on the phone when you're talking to them, or like, different prospects that you have. Each one of those things, especially if they ask it 2 or 3 times, different customers do, that you can answer those. And in my case, I didn't have a lot of business. So it was just basically like finding things that people would Google and then creating something useful for them. And it did take a while for me too. So I'm not trying to say this was instant. It was actually a lot of work. There's a couple aha moments in there. So first of all, the reason I did it is because it was cheap and free and easy and I could do it myself. That was why I did it. I needed to find a way to do business. And I've tried a lot of other things. Like I've advertised in magazines. I've done tons of stuff. But the couple things the aha moments that I had in the process of getting more traffic, and what I think people might relate to, is like you Google, you blog, maybe if you're a small business owner and you're kind of aggressive and you get digital a little bit, maybe you're on social, that kind of thing. You blog a lot, but it's hard because if you're not blogging about the right things, people won't find you. So 90.63% of all blog posts on the internet have 0 traffic. And that's really sad. It's a harsh problem. So how did I get over that? The first thing I did, which was a big aha moment, which was to write bigger pieces of content. So I did my first couple giant guides that had, basically 2,000, 3,000, 4,000 words. And that actually started to get us a lot more Google traffic because it was an authoritative, comprehensive piece of content about that topic. And we have clients now that we do that for, and they're ranking for things, kind of crazy things like siding color trends and roofing materials and stuff like that. It's kind of intense that we are able to rank on page 1 against companies, not against, but you know what I'm saying, like competing with websites like GAF and national organizations. So basically the big comprehensive piece of content is one major aha moment that I had, and I still do that to this day. We create giant pieces of content about in-depth topics. And then the other one was the first time I got a few links back to my website, and I also found ways to scale that out, how to create links back to websites. And once I was able to do that both times, the first time with the giant guides, I got up to from 200 people on our website a day to 500 with the giant guides. And then I got up from 500 to thousands, with the links when I started to get links back to my website from other websites. So that's a huge piece that a lot of, small business, growth-oriented businesses and contractors don't fully understand yet, is every link back to your website matters. So finding ways to do that creatively is huge.
Yeah, and even if we know that stuff, creating those giant pieces of content is not really one of those things that we're focused on.
Yeah.
It gets easier to, shoot a video and put it on YouTube, or maybe shoot a quick video for Facebook and that type of stuff. But in order to rank your website, which is where you get most of your online lead forms filled out, it takes some effort. It does, but it's worth it. It pays off in spades. The companies that I know that really dedicate a lot of time to their website and their SEO and that content on that generate leads like clockwork. It's something that's predictable. They know what's going to come in, and so they can hire accordingly, which I look at that as all strategic. Like, I know I'm going to have this number of leads coming in, and if I ramp this up, I would need another rep or 2 to handle that. Yeah. It gives me this ability to think strategically about my hiring. So, exactly. I hear this question all the time about marketing. I ask anybody that I talk to on marketing about this. What's the percent that a contractor should invest into their marketing of their revenue?
Yeah, I like a 5% kind of as a clean number. It's a high cost of goods, industry. So I think that it, like a lot of it, like what I'm saying is average small to mid-sized business is like 7 to 10% actually. So to me, construction being at 5, but we talked about it before this too. It could be anywhere 2 to 5. And I kind of shared that quick anecdote of my family has a very successful business that does 0% in marketing. So I'm not saying you absolutely have to. It's kind of a matter of how quick do you want to go? And then also like, it certainly puts you at a disadvantage if you're completely reliant on word of mouth advertising or referrals, or certainly the door knocking thing. We've got a lot of contractors that are a little uncomfortable right now if they're in a position where that's their only thing, because there's probably some reluctance around answering the door, apprehension, and I think maybe the numbers are going down a bit during this. So I think it's just basically a matter of diversifying and your best 2 to 3 channels from my point of view, like really having 3 good channels that you own. I don't know, like you mentioned before this that essentially like canvassing, you don't think of that as a marketing expense.
No, I look at it as a marketing expense when I'm paying canvassers. So,
okay, yeah.
So if I'm paying a canvasser to go do it, that's absolutely a marketing expense. But if my sales guys are doing
it, okay, I see.
It's
yes, because
you could consider it as part of marketing, but it is something that the sales guy is doing. So I don't really include it in there because I'm including it more on my commissions and that side of things.
And I think kind of like having a number that you feel comfortable, like I think sales and marketing really border on each other. And so a lot of those things, I might consider that part of that 5%. So maybe that kind of gives a little bit of perspective.
Yeah, that's where those numbers get kind of goofy. I've seen everything from 1.5% and even some zeros all the way up to 12, 15% that people will invest. And a lot of that big number ones, those ones that are the 8, 10, 12, even 15, I see them more almost shotgun approach and try to we call it top of mind marketing around it, just trying to be everywhere all the time. But for the number of leads they generate, for a quarter of the cost, they can generate probably almost as many if they were really strategic about it.
Yeah,
in my opinion. So you mentioned earlier long-term and short-term, right? And this is the game that we play in marketing. I'm a contractor. I want leads right now. And that's the way we all approach it. I'm sure you've met with a lot of contractors and like, I want leads now, but digital marketing stuff is a little bit of a longer-term play, which we've learned even as a coach. And I'm going through a lot of what these contractors are going through. We've brought on a marketing strategist. We literally today hired a new marketing specialist executor, somebody who's going to get out there and actually do the dirty work of making the Facebook post and Google ads and all that stuff that we do as a company. No longer is Jim Johnson going to do it. I'm trying to create some capacity. And it's because I'm an expert in it. And so why do you see it more as a long-term over a short-term, or is there like this, some of it can be short-term and get some instant response, but the real impact of it's going to be long-term?
Yeah, I think like the Google ads side of it and the Facebook ads side of it, those get a little bit closer to that short-term side. The search engine optimization, content marketing, video marketing often is a little bit more of the long, slow thing. How can we answer questions to these ideal customers? How can we be useful to them in an ongoing way? And I think there's actually a giant weakness if you've got too much of it on this short-term side. I actually think it feels like the companies that don't sit there, because it feels like spam. Do you know what I mean? When you see these companies that just are trying to generate, those companies are really into generating leads. We're really into generating leads. It seems closer to spam in a lot of cases. That's why sometimes they don't even want it associated with their brand. They're trying to put they're doing these landing pages and they're doing these heavy, hardcore, sales-focused ads, and it gets weak. From my point of view, it gets weak. That's why they often put it over here and don't want to associate it with their brand as much. To me, search engine optimization, content marketing, long, slow, video, like things that are like longer and slower, are actually stronger. They're strong because you're building something solid. It's kind of the difference between like the old craftsmanship and the bad Walmart cabinet, right? Like it's you're trying to create something of substance, and something of substance means a customer-focused brand, a respected name in your community. And so we don't tend to be as good of a fit for like people that are really into storm chasing, or people that are into like kind of run and gun and take everything they can from a community and then get out. That's a really harsh way to put it, but you know what I'm saying? Like storm chasers, basically. So what I'm kind of saying is like there is a difference in the way it comes across to customers, whether you're a community focused roofer, contractor, etc., or you're like a storm chaser or a lead gen type person. I believe that there's a sweet spot, right? To me, I like the long, slow stuff. I think that's, we focused on that. We focused on our brand. Like we can talk about a little bit, but this idea of a brand story. And in complement to that, I want to say, I believe in having almost a contrarian viewpoint for your brand. So your company believes in something that's different than the rest of the market. And that's kind of the differentiation. You have to differentiate your company. That's something that contractors struggle a lot with, because we look, I say we look a lot like all the other companies, right? Like as a contractor, we're sitting out there, we have our website. It looks like everybody else. Like this, when they're price shopping and bouncing from your website to this person's website to this person's website, there's nothing on it. There's nothing that says that you're any different from that competitor. So how can we maybe build in a little bit of a contrarian viewpoint and push on something that's like, you may see this from other contractors. You may see the one call close or whatever. You know what I mean? Like you could go in on something that you disagree with about the market, and that comes across as authentic, and it can also comes across as authentic. It is like if you really speak from something that is very authentic to you, it resonates with people more, because they can see, hey, I believe this company believes in something. This company actually has a viewpoint. This company is not just like every other contractor out there. So I think that there's just an element of creating differentiation, and that long, slow branding focused marketing is stronger, is more sturdy than the quick run and gun. Let's just generate as many leads as we can. And it also is a race to the bottom over on that. Let's generate as many leads as we can. And your price goes down, your quality of service goes down in some cases, especially if you're using like, these lead gen websites like Home Advisor and stuff like that, where it's just kind of, you're competing with everybody and who picked up the phone quick enough and who gave the best price. And that's kind of a sad place to be. It does burn out your salespeople too.
Yeah, couldn't agree more. And you gave me a couple of things I want to get back to in just a second, but I got a question for you.
Yes, sir.
I ask these same questions to all my guests because we like to find out about you as a person as well. So to this point in your, it seems, young life as compared to Jim Johnson's life.
Yeah.
What's your greatest achievement, not including family stuff?
I'm just going to go with something that's very recent, because it feels good. We recently hit 1 million visitors on our website in a year. So wow. that was a pretty big one for us. And just because it's mostly because it's recent, but it's very exciting for our company to hit that and that kind of audience. So.
Yeah, those big, I don't know if I could tell you how many people have hit our website.
Yeah.
That's literally one of those things, like why I'm getting some marketing people in here is because of those types of things.
Yeah.
That's a great achievement, man. 1 million people. I put
1 million in 1 year. It's kind of crazy.
Yeah, that's nuts.
And in 2020 too, but traffic has gone up a lot. I think that people are more online than they've ever been. Ouch.
So you mentioned something, this differentiating your business from other businesses, and you're right. this idea that a roofer is a roofer, you take off shingles, you put shingles on, is kind of the perception I think that most consumers have of us.
Yeah.
They are doing exactly what you said. They're clicking from website to website to website. Almost every single one of those websites has some dude on a roof, a picture of shingles, our quality, our service. Just they all look the same for the most part. Here, free estimate, there's a phone number, and just they all have that very similar look to them. And so, in our coaching, we teach our clients about being proprietary and unique, and how can we do that? And we do that through a variety of different tools, whether that be how we do our inspections, or how we install something, how we keep things safe, how we clean up when we're done. That sounds and looks different from everybody else. Even how we may approach that sales call and how that might look different than everybody else.
That's good.
So one of the ways that we go about helping people do that, and I want to get some of your input and maybe even have you explain what this is. We talked about branding, right? Branding, when everybody thinks branding, they think the logo, right? And then you got this cool logo, you got that cool logo and all that stuff.
Exactly.
So everybody wants our hats, although my hat's kind of dirty, it looks like today. It's time to get a new one, I guess. And we got our gear, right? All the swag, that kind of stuff. But that's not really your brand. Your brand is really who you are and kind of the story of who you are. And there's this concept out there called brand storytelling. And so you want to explain to our viewers here today and the people listening to our podcast as they download and subscribe, what brand
and rate and review, by the way.
Oh yeah, rate, review, all that other good stuff. Yeah, please do.
You guys could do such a great favor to Jim right now and just review the podcast. Now, most people won't take the time to review the podcast, but if you've got some value out of this, strongly suggest taking the time to review it. I mean, that's a big deal for podcasts. So seriously.
Yeah, if you got anybody that does review it, if I see it, that review, I will send you a cool, brand new, not dirty Contractor Coach Pro hat.
Oh, hell yeah. So all right. So a couple things. Branding and that broader conversation of brand story is, to me, it kind of led into that when I'm talking about this contrarian point of view. But one way that I've seen that, like we love StoryBrand. If you just Google StoryBrand brand script, that's a great little exercise. It sounds like Jim also talks through these things with people that are working with him, and his team does. So, but the real key is feeling different. And brand, the way we do it with StoryBrand, a lot of times we do this on websites. When we're doing a website, we always talk through StoryBrand. It's about having, it's a customer focus. So this is one way you can really quickly just totally shift the way your website compares to those other roofing companies by just writing to them only and not talking as much about yourself. So starting with you instead of we, right? Those things it sounds so simple, but it's really, really important for your marketing. If you can identify a few customers, let's say the 3 best customers in the past couple months, having testimonials, having that kind of stuff on your website to really draw attention to them, not on you. That's a totally different vibe than the other contractors. But StoryBrand brand script basically has a few key components. You have to figure out who is it for, right? Who is the person that it's for, and what do they want? So first of all, what do they want? You start with that question. And then also you're the guide. So your ideal customer is the hero. You're the guide as the roofer or the contractor, what have you. You're the guide. And here are the steps that we take, giving the 1, 2, 3 steps of your process. And when you're talking about, really having processes in place, like that is somewhere where if you don't have those in place, that's a good place to start, right? If we have checklists that are branded, that are proprietary, just like I think you work with people on to find this proprietary processes that other contractors can't say they have. Do you have this process in place? That is part of the story. And another piece that's part of the story is I like this sentence. It's just plain wrong for, let's say, in the case of like retail versus storm or those types of things, like you got that. It's just plain wrong to work with somebody outside your community, or this mindset around have empathy for this ideal customer, and really say, why is it just plain wrong for them not to have a customer service focused contractor working with them? To me, there's an element of people want to hear that. They want to hear your unique perspective. And then, so you've got that 1, 2, 3 step process. Sometimes it might also include proprietary checklists or things like that for quality assurance that you can then brand. I think it's good. It's useful for branding, not only on the marketing side, but also internally to help adoption with your team to create, they're more likely to do it. We use this every time, because the reason it's important to talk about this is because we're marketing for companies. I really want them to follow through on what we're marketing, right? It's really important for them to follow through on that. So when you have checklists in place, you have a name for the process, you have internal adoption for the process, and then it really does differentiate yourself. That, to me, quality assurance and checklists and things like that are your differentiation. That's a big piece to what makes this story easy to tell, right? And then, so you've got the ideal customer. What do they want? You're the guide to their hero. And then the last thing that you kind of need to have down, and it's all in the story brand script, but the last thing you need to have down is the failure and success, right? Or I guess I should say failure down here and then success up here, to the story. So they're a hero in their own minds. Everyone is. We're all the main thing we think about all the time, right? So you're just riding that natural inclination of our psychology. So what does success look like? And maybe success is getting it paid for by insurance, and maybe we can't talk about that, but what else is really a success for them? It's maybe that it gets done on time and that there's no remnants in the yard, and there's different things that people really want, but you have to talk about what success looks like and how wonderful that is. It's like the promised land. And then on the other hand, you've got what if you don't choose a professional contractor, right? And what does failure look like on this project? And you really do want to be able to draw a picture for them to really call their attention to what it could look like if they don't use a professional contractor. You really want to draw attention to that negative future as well. And it's not to be a jerk, right? It's not to be a smarmy marketer or a nasty sales guy. It's to have stakes. Every story needs to have stakes. And your marketing is no different. It's a story you're telling to these homeowners, and you really have to have stakes, or whoever your audience is. You need stakes. There needs to be a failure and a success. And if there's not clearly kind of written stakes, like what can happen if you don't choose a professional contractor, or if you choose Chuck in the truck, somebody who's not really that awesome, that has no process in place, no quality assurance, no checklists, nothing. They're just out there just winging it. What can happen? And you have to draw that picture. Otherwise, this story is not an interesting story, and they're off your website and gone.
Yeah, this whole story brand thing, or brand storytelling, you'll hear it called. It's a concept. There's a book written on it. I actually put a link on this, so if people want to go read that book, it's a great book for you to kind of figure out, because we struggled with it. Everybody asks us what we do, and they know, like, we coach contractors, but they don't know what that means. What does that actually mean? Yeah. And so then we get into this big long diatribe, because we coach on everything. Yeah. We cover it from A to Z and all the different processes and systems. And we're talking about strategy and marketing and sales, as well as leadership and culture, accountability, finance, and all these different things. It gets this long conversation that loses traction because it doesn't really talk about what the core is. And we, after going through this story brand thing, we figured out that we help contractors get control of their business, so they can grow it, so they can find what they're looking for, which is financial and personal freedom. That's what we do. Yeah. Over and over and over again. So this story has become much easier for us to tell. It differentiates us from everybody else. And then we have all these unique things that we do that other people don't do, that are kind of our secret sauce. Yeah. All part of that narrative of how we're a little bit different.
Yeah.
And I think contractors can do very much the same thing, and it's not that hard.
I think, one real quick thing I just want to throw out here is like, also contractors have the same issue sometimes. Sometimes the thing that somebody initially contacts you for, and a lot of times people have a lot of contacts for a particular service that isn't their most lucrative service. Let's say it's repair. If you have a lot of contacts around that, it's still figuring out how to knock it out of the park. And in marketing, we call it a loss leader. It's the same thing as when Target or Walmart gets you into the store on Black Friday when when we could all rush the store and, trample each other for TVs. They would get you in the door with the $100 TV, and then they'd sell you everything else, and you'd go out the door with $700 worth of merchandise. But they were selling that TV for no profit. And knowing that sometimes you have certain things that people want that you can do very well. In our case, it's web design. People really want a nice looking website, but they don't even know about SEO. We can often, we do amazing websites and it's not like we're not making a crazy ton of profit on these websites, but part of it is we know how to get you traffic and we tell that story along the way. So it's kind of knowing what people are coming in the door for versus, sometimes it's different than what your than what's reflected on your revenue, kind of that scorecard at the end of the year, right? Like, so it's different. I kind of like, that's why I have, internally we have two different graphs, which is what they came to us for originally, and then also like where our revenue is, because those are often different. And I think you can really hammer on what's bringing them in the door still. You still want to promote that, that's.
I think that's a huge opportunity. You brought up a great example, these repairs. Nobody wants to do them. It really is a thing that people almost try to avoid because they want that big pop, the $25,000 roof, and they don't want the $2,000. One of the beautiful things about repairs, though, is they're highly profitable. I mean, they're 60, 70% because you have this opportunity because nobody else wants to do them. You have to charge what you want. As long as you're reasonable on that and you build this great story about who you are, that person is a person that you're going to be able to do a roof for in the future.
Exactly.
And it's amazing watching these companies that we've coached now. It's been 7 years since we started this. And the ones that are, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 years in the past have started to do that. And their revenues are going through the roof because they have been so focused on building that story and offering something unique and making it a little bit of a different experience for people. Mm-hmm. So if you were a contractor and you're sitting here, it's wintertime for some of us. Here in Texas today, it was 35 degrees when I woke up this morning.
Oh, that's cold for Texas.
Yeah, a little shiver. We kind of slow down and we start to do a little bit of planning and strategizing for the next year. What are maybe the top 2 or 3 things that you think, boy, if a contractor focused on these, they probably have the biggest bang for their buck in marketing?
Yeah, there's kind of, from my point of view, it matters who we're talking about, that under 1 million or the over 1 million guy. So who would I can do both if you want.
Yeah, let's do both. Let's under $1 million. What would I do?
Under the 1 million, I think we still have opportunity to use our own time. That's a big piece I do think contractors should be spending time on their own stuff. I think social media is a good place to spend time. And I do believe, a lot of these guys have a decent looking website. It's okay. It's nice enough to play the game right now. They should be creating useful content for their ideal customers. So it's a little bit of time, but it's also like potentially you could just pay like a blogger. The problem is that you just want to make sure that they have an SEO focus. They know what SEO is and they care about it. But other than that, I really think the basics are in place. Like I know we're talking about digital, so I don't want to get too far off, but I think the basics are trucks, your swag, like sometimes people do those banners in front of a house or signs. I think that those are honestly, some of the in-person stuff is better return on investment. And if you don't have that down, you should get it done first and then move into digital. Like I think your website should be good. So I think at a certain point, we're kind of getting that million and whatever above, you really do want an effective you want to think of your website as a marketing tank that you can get in there and man at a certain point. You want to be able to, if you don't know how to sign into your website, I do suggest people learn the basics, sign into that sucker this next week and do one blog post. That's it. Just get in there and move it just to like just to feel the wheels turning. You know what I mean? This is a live, active tank. It's not a fort that if you sit it in the mountains, like the guy said, if you're sitting in the forest, it's like a billboard in the forest. Let's drive that thing around. It's like, we need the tank. The tank is the website. So move the wheels. And by saying move the wheels, it's like make a tweak, add a blog post, do a video, do something. So but after the 1 million mark, I do think that there's two main things. I think that 1 to 5 million, and a lot of it's search, because I'm a search guy. So obviously that's what I believe in. I believe Google ads and local service ads through Google right now are the best return on investment. And Google Guaranteed is that little spot up top where it mixes the reviews in. You have to have good reviews to do it, but like spend a couple $100 on that every month. Spend $500. Spend $1,000 on Google Guaranteed service ads up at the top, and that doesn't require a ton of management. So I'm saying this, even though you don't really need an agency for that. So do that, and it's not too hard, and it's for roofers, contractors of all types. These are the best spend you'll make from my point of view, because what it comes down to is you want to be there when they're searching. And so to me, it's Google ads are the next piece, like for the top terms that you're getting, leads from. And then I like SEO, because a lot of people do skip those ads at the top. Actually, most people skip those ads at the top. So that's why you need to be in that organic spot as well. I think you should be doing both of those. Which one you do first? Obviously, like we push on SEO. So I think you should be doing SEO first because it's foundational, but certainly one of those, you should be doing one of those. And then as you get to the $2-3 million mark, maybe layer on one more. And then it's kind of like you could hire a marketing manager to do all this for you too at 1 million or 1.5 million. I like being your agency at 1 to 5 million, and then you hiring a marketing manager at 5 million. But either way, I think at 5 million plus, you have a marketing manager, you have specialist agencies that are doing little things for you. And to me, when it's time to hire a marketing manager, depends on the other quality of help that you can get on the outside. Because some agencies don't take enough initiative. So you certainly want to have somebody internally that's a champion for marketing, whether it's the owner or whatever.
Yeah, that's one of those things. Like as the owner, I've been that champion for quite some time. But in order for me to create capacity so I can do more for my business, if all my time is focused on marketing, I'm not focused on the other aspects of our business that are so important: content creation, getting books finished, and all this other stuff that I'm working on.
Depends on how much you like it too. Like kind of like, where's your energy? Yeah,
I absolutely hate it, to be honest with you.
But like, for instance, like you and I both know Josh Swisher. Maybe he's watching right now. I don't know, but Josh I think he likes marketing a lot. Like he loves doing his own videos. He's charismatic. He can kind of roll with the punches and do some of that on social media and do the videos and stuff like that. So there's kind of like, if you really love it, you won't need to hire a marketing manager as quickly if you're really enjoying that and the social stuff and the video stuff, etc.
Yeah, I think that organic stuff is great. I think most people can do it. I think that where it gets into this, like I don't mind doing videos and stuff like that. That's great, building the content, but executing that content is a whole different deal. Building the Google ads, setting it up right, the Facebook, paid ads and those things are more and more and more complicated. The algorithms change all the time, and if you're not just in it all the time, it can be difficult to get any real traction from it.
And I will say this is ours is a little bit more product / like service oriented. And it's hard to because we're not like customizing this a ton per business owner, but where you guys probably thrive and do great work is like, you can kind of assess, you like look very closely at what their strengths are. And, like you do a little bit more assessment, I'm sure, on the front end before making recommendations. And you're really kind of like tailoring your suggestions to what their market and their specific thing is. Like we're a hammer. We get you higher on Google. That's our main thing. Like you can do the kind of like the granular tweaking of strategy and like, a little bit more like on the front end, determining what's right for them. And I think that's really important for these guys. I think that different markets require different things too.
Different markets require different things. Different skill sets require different things. Different access to resources require different things.
Exactly.
So it kind of depends on where they're at, what their skill sets are. And so we evaluate all those things. And some people we might say, hey, canvassing might be the greatest thing in the world for you.
Exactly.
And for these things. Other guys are like, we hate knocking doors and we like this digital stuff. So, okay, go talk to Hook Agency. And so it's been nice to be able to have great resources for all of those things.
Absolutely.
So a couple more questions.
Yes, sir.
I'm assuming you've had a mentor or two in your life.
Yeah, I've had a lot, but a lot of them I've paid. I will say that.
I didn't pay you to say that, just so you know.
No, people that are successful tend to they don't have a ton of time. And now I have a couple people that I talk to that have bigger businesses than me that are useful to me otherwise. But I've paid probably at least like 5 coaches since I started this business, and at different things that I really needed. It's been incredibly invaluable, particularly around management. And that's one where I still feel weak, but like having people to kind of explain just the basics of management have been really useful, because most of the small businesses, entrepreneurs, we have no idea. I mean, you don't get into it because you're good at managing people. Like, you get into it because you're like good at doing the business, and you're like good at doing the work or whatever. You're good at selling the work or whatever you happen to be good at, but it's not usually because you're like a great manager. Because especially like entrepreneurs that start from scratch, like I had no capital or anything like that. Like, it was just me sometimes for 80 hours a week, just sitting there over and over and over again, doing the work. And so it's just, frankly, it's a different skill set. Once you get to once I got to 7 people, I was just a fish out of water. I had no idea. I was like trying to do 70-hour weeks and like hustle my way into being a good manager. And it doesn't quite work that way. Like, hustle doesn't matter quite as much. It still matters. It totally still matters, but it's not going to fix your management problem, hustling more.
I was on a different question, but it's always an interesting thing to me. We see the greatest athletes in the world, the greatest business people in the world, executives in the world. All of them have coaches.
Yeah.
And we sometimes fall back on this pride thing. I don't need a coach. I want to accomplish all this stuff on my own. But if somebody knows the path, why not take the path and shorten that learning curve? So that whatever you are breaking is something new and innovative. You're not learning something that somebody else already knows. You're getting ahead of you on.
Yeah, exactly.
What's the best piece of advice you've ever gotten from a mentor?
That's pretty solid. That's a good question. It's got to be one of these things around management. And I know that the management of our business is going to be completely different than the contractor's business. But I will say, I think for us, it has been around having a weekly kind of level 10 meeting with different departments, and then also having one-on-one meetings with each employee every week. Someone in management has a one-on-one meeting with people every week. Now, I think I know a good amount of contractors that don't believe in that. I don't know if that makes sense for that industry, but maybe it does. I don't know. But that's been really big for me in our industry, to be really kind of, their suggestion was just around making sure that people are good, and we kind of know what's going on in their life and stuff like that. So if they left quick, or if something really broke down in their job, that we'd know about that before it happened. And so much of our business is like managing, like we got millennials, we're managing emotions. There's a lot going on, man. And it's all like basically intellectual, like emotional labor. So it's a little bit different of a game. And, and I know for contractors, they have mixed resources. You got the office people, and then you got the labor people. So, definitely office people, I think it does make sense to meet with them pretty rhythmically and regularly. That was a big deal for me, and starting to do that helped.
I could not agree with you more. And I think every contractor should. And we literally coach them on a meeting that's kind of that style. We call it a mission meeting, because we create this mission that we're after for the year. And then every single week we're meeting with our leadership team to assess our progress towards that mission. Awesome. And so we do bring some concepts from the level 10 meeting, to be honest. It's a great meeting. It's a great management level meeting. But there's some things in our industry and scorecards and things like that ours look different. They act different. And we really are kind of focused on this year. What are we going to do this year to accomplish what our vision is in 3 years, to accomplish our overall goal in 10 to 15 to 20, depending on where people are at. And we help them develop those. Most of our clients do them every single week, just like you do.
That's awesome. I mean, that to me is like really useful. And like, what is it like? I just want to paint a picture real quick. Like for this particular topic is like, what happens when 2 or 3 of your best people leave in 6 months because you haven't been checking in and there's not clarity around what that mission is. And like, it really matters. Like, I do think like, I wish more contractors would do that weekly meeting. That it does help and it does get clarity. And I do think there's I do see some contractors have a breakdown of communication internally because they're not, and you think it's time, that's just out of your business. There's not real work getting done. There's nothing being sold. There's nothing being built. There's nothing, like whatever. But at the same time, like communicate, like it's intended to stop the other miscellaneous communication things that happen elsewhere in your week. You're consolidating it to a period of time so that you don't have those random little fire conversations happening Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. You're trying to consolidate that to one day, one time, so that you can kind of knock out a lot of communication at once.
Well, there's 2 reasons people leave you. One is they can't do the job, so that's on them, and they just don't have the skill, nor are they willing to learn the skill. Thing number 2 is they don't like working for you. And it really comes down to that. And the reason they don't like working for you is because they're not connected to you. Yeah. There's no connection. You are a wheel in their cog, or a cog in their wheel. Yeah. And they see no value to them. And when they see no value to them, they're going to be looking for something else. There's a really interesting stat out there that 90% of people decide the first day that they're on the job whether they're going to stay at that job or not.
That hurts.
That is an amazing stat to me. It doesn't mean they're going to quit tomorrow, but they know they're going to quit because it's a job, not a career, not something they're bought into. Okay, last question. I know we're running a little long here, so last question for you. We all only have so much time on this planet. We all know that, right? And we should treat that time like it's valuable, but it's going to come to an end. And when it does come to the end for Tim Brown, how do you want people to remember you? What do you want to leave behind as your legacy?
I just want to be somebody that inspired people to take big risks and to do more and to pursue their passions in life.
Amen, brother. I couldn't agree more. I almost feel like there's so many wasted lives out there. There's so much talent, so much opportunity, so many ways to impact others, that when we don't look at it that way, it's like we just walk through life living day to day without really trying to impact those that are around us. So I love that. That's really good, Tim.
Thanks, man. Appreciate it.
That's cool. And I have a feeling that is the way you'll be remembered from everything.
Thanks, man.
So that's cool.
Yeah, appreciate that.
No problem. If people wanted to get a hold of you to talk about their marketing strategy, and if they're really looking into this, how to really get strong on the digital side of things, how do they get a hold of you?
Yeah, just tim@hookagency.com. Send me an email and we'll chat about it and see if we can be of service to you. So tim@hookagency.com.
All right, cool. You can also find him on Facebook, LinkedIn, any of those social media things. He's pretty easy to find. There are a couple of Hook agencies out there, I've noticed, but he's the one with that cool.
You're trying to tag us on social, or something like that. Yeah, there's a bunch of Hook agencies, but we're at Hook Agency, just straight up on all the social channels too. So
what's really cool about it is you branded yourself so well. I knew which one to pick. Like, there's that Hook. That's easy to do, and here we go. So
exactly. It is a pretty short name, so you totally understand how there could be more than one, right?
Yeah, it's Jim Johnson. There's a few of us out there, so we have to be.
Hey, that's a problem some contractors have too, though, is like, like ultimately the good news is whenever you Google us, we are the first one. There's a lot of like contractors with that problem where they have like a name that there's like 3 or 4 of them out there. You want to be the first one, right? So.
Oh yeah. America's Roofing. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. And just a reminder to like name yourself something kind of unique too. So, but yeah.
Yeah, I always have fun with those ones that are like hippo roofing. I'm like, how'd you come up with hippo? But that was a thing that can be remembered and easily identified and unique. So
yeah, exactly.
I thought that was pretty good. Tim, it's been great having you on.
Yes, sir.
Thank you for your help today. And hopefully some people learned some stuff. They were entertained a little bit. Got a few strategic things to think about and maybe a tactic or two. So thanks for being on.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me, Jim.
And no problem. So guys, that was our podcast here, a little bit on marketing strategy. I wanted to do it now so that people can be thinking about it through the winter time, but this is something that you're considering all the time. You're really looking at your strategy, you're assessing your strategy, you're measuring your strategy, and you're actually accounting for that strategy, what your costs are associated with every marketing dollar you spend. Cost per click, cost per acquisition, cost per lead. There's all of these different things that once you can identify that measurement, it allows you to get really strategic about where you're going to put your money as a contractor. I want to focus a little bit on the takeaways today. One of the biggest takeaways I think that Tim shared with us is this idea of being unique and differentiating yourself. And so I would go look at my website and say, does my website look like everybody else's website? And if it does, what are you going to do about that? How are you going to change it? If you have not updated your website recently, start doing so and getting consistent about it. One of the best ways to do that is just to spend some time once a week on it. Even if it's just that much, it's more than what most people are doing, whether that's a blog post, a video, or some pictures, some updates of customers you've worked with, a testimonial. Get some activity on your website and some changes on your website, because Google's looking at those, and part of their algorithm is this information new and updated or not? So the other thing I want you to do is, and really think about, one of the bigger takeaways from today is, where are you going to focus your time in marketing? Are you going to focus it in canvassing? Are you going to focus it in digital? Are you going to focus it in social media, traditional print, guerrilla marketing? Where are you going to focus that time and really assess, by where you are as a business, the resources you have available to you, where are you going to get that most bang for the marketing dollar in your current circumstances? Because I see smaller companies being a little bit more on the trying to keep costs down, whether that be canvassing or guerrilla marketing. Those are 2 great ways to do it. There's a great book out there called Guerrilla Marketing for Contractors, which, to be honest with you, I like people calling me instead of knocking on their door. And guerrilla marketing gives you a low-cost way to do that, that positions you uniquely and gets people calling you and contacting you about what you do. Those of you that are getting larger, you're starting to grow, it's not as easy to maintain that kind of stuff. The amount of people that you have to do that kind of stuff and manage gets to be more difficult. So you start considering some of these other things, whether it's digital or social media, maybe even radio and TV, and considering spending some time there, because the last time I checked, the person that actually calls you and initiates a conversation, a relationship, and communication with you is more likely to buy from you than the person that you meet cold. So get that story down. And so that's the last takeaway from today, is to invest some time into your story brand or brand storytelling and figure out who you are, what it is you offer, how you offer it, and make your customer, your ideal customer, the hero, and you're their guide to either success or failure. That gives them 3 steps, just 3 simple steps to get started. When you make things simple, people are more likely to do it. And you're playing on that natural psychology of everybody wanting to be a hero. So that's our podcast for today. Thank you for joining us here on Contractor Radio. If you want to find out more about our coaching and how we help contractors believe in their ability to get control of their business, to grow their business, and then to find what they're really after, which is financial and personal freedom, you can check us out at contractorcoachpro.com. You can get a hold of me at headcoach@contractorcoachpro.com. You can find us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. Just look up Contractor Coach Pro. We're out there. And those of you that have not subscribed or downloaded our podcast, please do so. Remember, anybody that rates our podcast today, I will get you a free Contractor Coach Pro hat. They're actually pretty cool. We have people begging us for them all the time. And so we got some new ones coming out that are going to be really cool. So feel free to get out there and rate our podcast. The more of that we get, the more contractors we can help. And that's what we're here to do, is to love, serve, and care for our industry, help you with the strategy and tactics to get you ahead. Thanks for joining us on this week's episode of Contractor Radio.